This show features adult content. Howdy folks, Caleb here, your host and game marshal. Sounds Like Crows is played using the Savage World system and the Deadlands The Weird West setting by the Pinnacle Entertainment Group at peginc.com. All music on the show is provided by myself, Rudy Zuniga, Levi Rojas, Void Corp Productions, or used under the Creative Commons Zero license. I'd like to thank our illustrious patrons, Sarah Moore, James Quinn, Kate. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Couldn't do what we do without you. And of course, you know who they are. Jonathan Turner, thank you. Aaron Blackston, thank you. Jared, thank you. Kyle Neese, thank you so much. Ariel Weiss, you're lovely. Suzanne Hagen, thank you. And Greg Gray, thank you so much. With all that out of the way, welcome back to the Weird West. Steam is erupting from the turbine in the depths of the pit, burning the man next to Thaddeus as he jumps back from the overheating engine, screaming at the moisture clung to his skin. We cut to Thaddeus's face, sweat both from the high temperatures in here, the steam in front of you, and the exertion of the battle beforehand. Thaddeus, Mondragon has succeeded. He's turned this thing up to critical mass. He's overloaded the engines. It's a bad time. The guy next to you that Ellis intimidated previously is helping you out, but I think if you're the one taking control here, you still got to make a repair roll. Thaddeus, before you... Oh, never mind. Well, keep blowing it up. Keep blowing it up. It's cool.
Whoopsie,
we'll do it on the next roll.
And... that'll be a 12.
Jesus, dude.
For once in your fucking life.
Is that with the -2?
Yes.
Well, you succeeded in not letting the engine blow up. I think you find some sort of release valve that releases some of the pressure in this turbine, and you don't lose an engine immediately. That's the benefit you gain from succeeding. That's 2 raises.
Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah.
How would you feel? You're getting a -2 on this right now, right?
We were, yeah.
You're going to have to make a couple more rolls. For your raises, we could reduce your penalty on the next 2 rolls to -1, unless you have some other idea.
Yeah, I need all the help I can get.
We're going to do this as a skill challenge. You went too fast, Thaddeus, okay? I was going to draw a card on your first roll, but we'll do it on your second roll. We're going to draw a card.
Okay.
Hey, it's not a clubs. You're great.
It's kind of hard.
No complications, okay? Do you think Thaddeus is succeeding purely out of luck? Is this some training in his past coming to bear? Is this a new skill he's going to acquire? Why do you think he's succeeding right now?
Well... we've just sort of seen over the progression of time here that he does seem to have a bit of a knack for the mechanisms and figuring out how to make them work and fixing boats that he's never been in before. And I figure that probably some of this machinery at its core is still sort of similarly designed to some of the equipment he would have seen in his time with a patron mad scientist he had a few years back when he was out in the Dakotas.
So it's hearkening back to that. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's all in Spanish, so if there's words, he can't tell that part. But like sort of the organization of everything kind of fits.
Absolutely. Make another roll, man.
With a -1 now?
Yep.
I got a 4.
Hell yeah. What this means is not only does the airship not lose one of its engines immediately, but also it does not overload the capacitors that are harnessing all of this natural energy around the airship. And the airship's going to be able to make it out of the maze. There is still some damage that's going to be unrecoverable because Mondragon succeeded on his skill challenge. Sure. However, you still have a chance to overcome this last unknown obstacle. We're going to draw one more card. Look at that. It's a 4 of hearts. You know what? How many bennies do I get? I get 4 bennies. I'm just probably making this shit up, but I'm going to spend a benny to redraw that card.
Oh, that's rude.
I just wanted to show off a new mechanic, Marshall, because now that we've drawn a spades.
Yeah.
Spades work like clubs now. So you're just going to get a -2 on this roll.
On top of the -1 I had?
Correct.
Is that a suede mechanic or is that a deck mechanic?
That's a spades deck mechanic.
Oh, man.
Oh,
no. Yeah. We've reached critical mass where over 50% of the deck, I believe, is spades. So you've sort of unlocked the next feature of this magical item. You know?
Oh, that's good.
That's really cool.
Wow.
That's really good.
I don't
Just keeps getting better.
I don't know. That's actually cool.
So wait, every time Thaddeus gets a spade, he fucks up? Or is it everyone?
It's everybody's spades.
Oh, Thaddeus, you piece of
Don't
shit.
ever do a dramatic task ever again, and you're fine.
And half of the fucking deck is spades now.
Now you're getting it.
Plus whatever the fuck was left of clubs.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and spend a penny.
Yep, makes sense. So you must blow up a 6.
You got it.
Yeah.
You
I
did
didn't.
not.
I didn't do
Just
that.
like that.
It's not a natural snake eyes, but
Thaddeus.
that's a 1.
Use the fucking Benny, dude. We're gonna fucking crash his airship and die.
Sounds kind of cool.
No, we can
There
make
would
it
be a
out
way
of
to
the
go.
maze, right? We can already make it out of the
We
maze for
can
sure.
make it out of the
Yeah.
maze. I'll risk it. Yeah. I'll still have 1 for soak later.
Oh,
Well, you fucking tried.
shit.
It's a
That's
5.
not-
There's a close-up shot of Thaddeus's face. I mean, so much sweat. It's one of those things where you move your hand over your face and it just comes off in globs. You can't read any of the instrumentation, so you're unsure what you're unable to save. But there is a ominous, deep bass shuddering that rocks the entire ship, like someone's plucked a giant guitar string attached to the whole ship. There is a shuddering and a twisting motion before everything seems to stabilize. All the dials that are sort of in overheating have either broken or have started to reduce. The man standing next to you, his hands are burnt. Perhaps his eyebrows now need some work, but he wipes his forehead and takes a step back, exhausted from the machinery he's been helping you try to deal with. Thaddeus, well, the crows are not aware of this yet, but the only part you manage to not save is the rudder.
Okay, that's,
So we're just stuck going
We're
whatever
just
direction
going-
we're going.
Whatever
there you
direction
go.
you're going.
Could be worse.
He's literally railroading us here. It's just
Skylar,
an
You
airship
could have rolled.
instead of a
You could
train.
have rolled. You could have rolled.
You could have rolled. You could have rolled a piece of shit.
I made it very, 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 very hard, but he could have done it.
yeah, I
You
chose
had
to hurt
throw
you.
everything out.
Okay. What's your first reaction to having saved your brothers from Grace's fate?
I think, he's starting to make a habit of fixing all these contraptions all over the place here. He's hot, he's sweaty. So he's going to take off his hat, run his hands through his hair, gets slicked back with the sweat, shakes his head and cracks his neck, and walks back to the console, just a few feet from where the brothers are, with Abel on the ground, and rests against it.
Lucky approaches Thaddeus and kind of puts an arm over his shoulder. Everything gonna be okay here?
Oh, well, shit. I can't be entirely sure. That last little bit certainly didn't sound good, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to immediately explode. The lightning up above is relatively safe. So I think we're all right.
Goddamn, hell of a nice job, Thaddeus.
Yeah, I don't know.
As he sort of just like rubs the back of his neck all anxiously and comes back covered in more sweat, sort of shakes it off and takes his coat and lays it on the console.
What happened to your hand?
Don't worry about the hand. We'll talk about that later. Hey, you, kind of points over to the Mexican soldier.
Covered in sweat, he kind of just like looks up with like a blank expression, slack-jawed.
Is there any doctors on board still that, we haven't killed?
I could find out, but I got to stay with the engine.
Why? It looks like Thaddeus did a pretty good...
We still need to make sure that none of these levels...
Hey, listen, we'll worry about that and just tell us what to look
No,
for.
the ship's going to fucking explode if I leave it. If you want, you can make a persuasion roll.
A 6. And does he know the legend, the tale of Lucky Crow?
Yeah, he probably knows.
Oh,
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
an 8.
That's an 8. Okay, with a raise. He kind of shakes himself out of it, looks to Thaddeus, seemingly reassured by Lucky that the engine's going to be all right. And he goes, yeah, I'll find a doctor.
Hey, while you're at it, get the next highest seniority after, and he kind of points to the slop of Mondragon.
A frog catches in his throat as he gulps and just avoids looking at Ellis altogether as he runs off in the bottom of the ship instead of in the catwalk through the balloon. Now that the adrenaline is worn off, everyone except Ellis needs to make a vigor roll.
8.
Is a 4 enough?
Yep.
Got a 7.
Cool. Abel?
Somebody's gonna need to roll for me. I'm sorry. D8.
Got it. That's a 3.
Ooh.
You want to Benny that?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, I do.
Got it. It's a 5.
Minus.
Oh, shit. Minus 4?
Minus 3?
3.
It's
Minus 3? Ooh, dude, that's a 2 then. You want to, I guess, Benny, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to
Three.
fuck you over like this, Abel.
No,
but yeah.
no. You're doing the right thing.
Using the last Benny.
Well, I don't know, man. Let's think about the odds here. He's got a D8, and he has -3.
He's
so
got to
he
get
has
a
to get
7 or blow up.
So 2 and 8. So
That's not too bad.
I will
Quarter.
just let you know that this will start you down the path of Ghost Rock Fever, and we will see what that
Which
means.
is pretty cool.
Sounds pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what other option. I think we got to save this one.
Save the Benny?
You're going to save it? Here, I'll give you one.
Yeah.
I got Common Bond, so I can share my
Great.
my bennies.
Yeah, this is from going through the gas balloon and taking the quick option, which was a smart option, but
No
Damn.
luck.
I'll spend another one.
shit. Okay.
I
Come
got
on,
one.
come on.
Two.
Nope. Nope.
Holy fuck. 4 bennies. Sorry, man. Well, we'll see how things progress, Abel. But yeah, I'm not sure. With all the other brothers, I had an idea of how we could represent you getting it. Like if this were a movie, what the first point of contact would look like. But I don't know. It's probably nothing for unconscious Abel. I think that's something we see later on in the narrative, but at least you know now.
Yeah, I would agree. Cool. I would agree.
Sorry, man.
Sad.
That's kind of what I expected. So.
Yeah.
Ugh, bummer.
Harper, what are your first moments after this?
So Harper watches Lucky run over to Thaddeus, and he runs down to Abel. He takes a second to kind of look him over and see how bad his injuries are. He sees obviously that massive hole through his chest where Mondragon stabbed him. And I think he's going to start doing as much medical attention as he knows how, which I think includes...
Well, when you get down there, I think Ellis has already been down there this whole time. I think he would have already been trying to apply pressure to the wound. He tried to check for a pulse, but I can't feel anything. So frustratingly gave up on that. And he's been kind of looking around to you and Lucky, probably have already yelled for a medic at this point.
Don't worry, man. He's coming.
Is he alive?
I don't know. Come check for a pulse.
So Harper and Ellis are around the body then as you call out for a medic. Ellis and Lucky, you already say that. Do you want to shout across the pit? I imagine you're like, Thaddeus is probably like 15 feet away. You know, Abel went down a ways before the engine. Do you want to rush over there or you want to stay with Thaddeus?
Oh, hell no. I'm definitely rushing over there after I kind of make sure that the thing's not going to explode.
Then I think we can sort of start that as you run in and slide down to the body as Harper's checking for a pulse. Harper, do you want to make a medical roll?
Yep. Nope. That's a 3.
Yeah, you don't even feel a pulse, man. I mean, there's so much blood, right? I mean, Ellis, you've already been over him. What's your state of blood?
Oh man, I've got quite the mixture going right now. Even before I started, doing what I could with Abel, after what I did with Mondragon, I probably am covered in blood. Just like my mouth, my face, my hands, and then Abel's blood is also probably covering my arms and hands at this point as well.
So
just from trying to apply pressure. I don't know what else. Ellis probably has no idea what the hell to do here.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to attempt a medicine roll, but
Yeah.
I think I've just ripped his shirt open.
And he's probably never seen Abel like this either, right? Like they've been through some battles and some fights together, but this is the first time he's seeing Abel almost lifeless, like in that ragdoll place where he is less than he was when he was awake.
Yeah, for sure. In Ellis's mind, Abel's kind of been like this invincible figure, very stubborn, always taking hits and like not being fazed by them. So this is definitely the first time I've seen him at this stage. Mm-hmm. Is the blood pulsing out of the wound? I guess that would be one way we would know if it's that bad, or is it kind of just seeping out?
I think it's just seeping out. Yeah,
Okay.
I think the holes are too big. Harper, you feel around for a pulse, but your fingers are sliding over the blood that's covering his throat and his face.
Keep pressure on it. I'm gonna find something to ban. I don't know. I'm gonna find something.
Yeah, just hurry up.
He stands up and he runs off. I think I'm gonna find one of these dead soldiers and just like start ripping pieces of cloth off of them to use as bandages.
Thaddeus. As you look towards your brother, a familiar sensation washes over your body. Your limbs move through the air as if you were treading water. Your eyes dance around with extraordinary speed, and the elements of this room are faded away, covered in almost smoke. It's like if every surface in this place was made of smoke itself. The abhorrent smell of the gas has been replaced with something else, like a sheep being sheared, thread put to loom before cloth. Looking through it, though, the outlines of your brothers are still there. A luminescence fills the gigantic place, the green electricity arcing overhead between the inverted lightning rods of the great balloon stretching above you. And you can see it moving so slowly, so slow you can see light itself traveling through the air. Dust stills around you, as if you were a giant standing within the Milky Way, peering at stars like motes. Only one element of this room is not faded out to your vision: your brother Abel on the ground. The rest of him is still, but the tattoo around his arm seems to constrict the flesh, like it's pulling him against the bones of who he is. You have not been in such a place before, but you have been in times and ways that ring parallel to this. But you haven't called for a deal, Thaddeus. You haven't reached out to the hunting grounds for one to appear.
No. Thaddeus just recently slumped against the console, and as everything sort of shifted, he took a step without even thinking forward and just stood in awe of it as everything started to slow down. And he looks around the room, and it's just Abel. Thaddeus will take a couple curious steps towards him.
Thaddeus, it seems like you've made out all right here.
What the hell?
You reel around to the sound of the voice. Standing above the pit, peering down, is that same old woman, that same Manitou you saw before after Ezekiel, near the hanging tree, surrounded by the graves. She's got a deathly pale face, hollow eyes with sunken black circles around them. Even this is visible through the black veil that's pulled over her face. She's wearing an all-black dress with a large bustle, frills and ruffles, large shoulder pads, all obsidian black. And she's holding the same cane she held before, the cane with a nightingale on the handle.
Thaddeus sort of turns his side to her for a moment, almost defensively, and then almost comfortably straightens up his shoulders, takes off his hat.
Well, what are you doing in a place like this? What's going on here? I didn't ask for you.
A wry smile forms on her face underneath the black veil. I thought you would be happy to see me, Thaddeus, after all you've been through.
You're trying my patience. I need to get back to my brothers, so if you got nothing for me, then get.
You can go whenever you like, certainly, but there's so much you haven't seen, Thaddeus.
Thaddeus sort of cocks his head at that.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you've been blindly going on with no matter how many warnings you receive, which she smiles and cocks her head to one side. I suppose I couldn't expect any less from you. In the blink of an eye, the old crone is next to you. Her wrinkled hands with extended fingernails turned yellow are reaching into your pocket. Either as you recoil away or are stuck in the shock of it, she withdraws the deck of cards from your pocket. The black, sheened, oily backs. She turns the cards over in her hand as Thaddeus turns around, maybe takes a step back from her.
He does in a moment take a reactionary step away from her to try to keep the cards away and slap her hand away, almost instinctively, but he misses. And then he sort of almost reaches for them before he drops his hands to his sides.
Her eyes don't break concentration from the cards, but you feel her attention drawn to you with a smile as you pull back. She looks through the cards, fanning through them, slowly grabs one card out of the deck and pulls it into her right hand and continues to move through the rest of the deck.
You're making quite the show. But what is this all for?
For how well you hide yourself, you aren't one for subtlety, are you? Things will be clear soon enough. And she takes one more card out of the deck and puts it into her right hand.
I think Thaddeus sort of takes a couple steps away from her and starts stroking his beard in frustration for a bit, kind of keeping his back turned to her.
Are you worried about your brother?
What?
Abel, on the ground over there. Looks pretty injured. Although, perhaps not as injured as you, at least the pride of it. She glances towards her crotch.
He'll sort of snap back around and glare at her.
Oh no, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Oh, I'm not certain of that at all, my dear. She takes one more card from the deck. I'm afraid he'll be horribly injured very soon.
What, him? No, when he gets stabbed or something, he'll be back fine.
No. Once again, Abel, as always, will bring it on himself, won't he?
What do you mean? He's always been a thorn in my side.
Well, that much is for certain and will not change anytime soon, Thaddeus. In fact, I think you'll be the one to, well, maybe you'll take his life. I'm not sure what you'll do with the information I'm going to give you.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm here to offer you a deal, Thaddeus. It's a very simple one. I don't want anything from you. All I want to do is put all of Abel's cards on the table. And she pulls the 5th card from the deck. I know you're a curious man, Thaddeus Crow. So why don't you let me show you something?
He sort of stares at it. It's just a wash of emotions across his face as he sort of contemplates.
This whole time, your brother. And she flashes her eyes towards him, and I think Thaddeus' mind is drawn towards his unnatural speed. He's hiding so much from you, Thaddeus. I just want to show you. I'm not here to lie to you. Certainly you can question my motives, as they are suspect. But I'm afraid in this one scenario, for once, my motivations will lie with yours. At the very least, I owe you some level of truth. As does he, no doubt.
In that moment, flashing in Thaddeus' eyes is all the conversations and arguments and discussions where he was so defensive and deflecting and just outright obstinate about it. And well, I guess maybe she's got the answers.
All right, I'll play. What's your hand?
She smiles, white through black, a toothy grin, sunk evil eyes. Her yellowed, cracked hands let loose the cards, and they fall, like they did before, onto the ground, half face up, half face down. The only 2 cards showing, 7 of clubs and an ace of spades.
Well, no table for you.
And Thaddeus will sort of begrudgingly lean down to flip over one of the other cards. It's face down.
You flip over, and as you touch the card, you feel a memory in it. A time past. Something you were present for, but something you didn't see. If you want, Thaddeus, you can cast a hunch on this card right now. And I'm telling you, as Caleb, it's probably pretty cool.
Oh, geez. Well, when you put it that way, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to
Make a spellcasting roll right quick.
Oh, right.
Whoa, wait. You know what?
It's a lot.
So I'm looking at a 12, Caleb.
And let's talk about the barn. Abel's booted feet follow Thaddeus's careless bare feet in the mud to the barn ahead. As Abel moves to the barn door, barely pulled open by Thaddeus, he cautiously pulls it closed behind him as a dim light starts to fill the room, lit only by the open candle in a flat-bottomed brass candle holder that Thaddeus has lit.
I think Thaddeus is sitting on the hay bale.
Oh, with the candle?
With the candle sitting across from him, and he's got the deck sitting between the candle and himself. He's probably got, he's got one leg sort of hanging off the hay bale. He's pretty relaxed here, just sort of shuffling and reshuffling at this point.
Thaddeus, you shouldn't be doing this.
Oh, but you came anyway. Well, here.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well see me finish it. Come here.
What are you doing?
Well, shut up and just watch.
Abel's eyes are wide as he walks forward, partially not quite able to believe what he's seeing and conflicted with that inner sense that this is really, really, really wrong.
It's awesome. Check this out. Look, I just shuffle it like this.
And he starts to cut and shuffle this deck of cards, and it seems like a quite methodical, rhythmic way.
Abel nervously glances towards the shadows.
And then he sets out 5 cards, and he picks them up, and they begin to glow a little bit as he reads off the numbers.
As Abel sees those cards start to glow, he gives a shout of alarm and just charges across that room, slaps them out of Thaddeus's hands, grabs his brother, and tries to wrestle him down to the floor. And as the two of them kind of roll off the bale, right in the background, we see that candle flickering and balancing as they smack down to that muddy shit and straw-covered floor.
Thaddeus, don't do it.
What the hell is wrong with you?
You not supposed to be doing that.
Well, I I ain't hurting nobody, Abel. What you...
It's against the rules. You're gonna hurt somebody. Ma said not to do it.
Abel's trying desperately to pull the cards that are still in Thaddeus's fingers, like out of his hands, and just toss them away.
He grabbed a hold of my cards.
I guess let's just see a roll. Here's what I think. I think neither of these kids are wild cards. I think they both have a D6 in strength, and none of the people in this hunch have bennies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I blew up, you son of a bitch.
I got a 5.
I got a 7.
Oh, how do you snatch most of the cards from him?
Abel pulls those cards one by one with a strength born of pure ferocity. I don't think Thaddeus is quite at the stage where he's like ready to fight and hurt his brother, you know? So like he's still kind of restrained. But Abel feels no such restraint. Like this is just the most important thing in the world to him is getting those cards out of Thaddeus's fingers. So he's clawing and kicking, and it's almost a little overwhelming, perhaps. Like Thaddeus probably was just not quite prepared for it.
Hey, we're just playing around. Stop.
No, it's not a game, Thaddeus.
The two boys roll through the mud and straw mixture and slam into the hay bale. And we cut to the top of it and see the candle shaking wildly, but somehow maintaining its balance atop the flammable surface.
As Thaddeus rolls to his feet.
Hey, listen, Abel. It's all a fucking game, all right? Ain't nobody playing fair.
No, it is not.
Listen, Daddy was a piece of shit. He drank and he played cards. That's why he left. Listen, Mama...
And you want to be like him?
Mama was dumb enough to marry him. So what does that
Fuck
make us?
you, don't you talk about my mama.
And he charges him again like in a wrestler's tackle going for his waist.
Thaddeus is going to try to deflect.
Let's roll again.
Unfortunately, into the hay bale.
4.
Also a 4.
Great. So I think what happens is both of you are like, he comes at you and you brace, and both of you are thrown over this hay bale, tumbling to the ground together. Neither one of you on top, both landing on your shoulders.
Caught me while I was on my ass, but hey, now that we're on our feet.
Yeah,
it's not going to go well.
The candle tips, swirls, maintains its balance, and then loses it. And as it starts to topple over the edge, it stopped, as if caught upon an outstretched finger.
Thaddeus, you ain't gonna do it. I am not gonna let you.
Well, listen, Abel. You might stop me tonight, but I'll just get another deck of cards tomorrow, or the day after that, or the day after that. You ain't got what it takes to stop me, little brother. I'm gonna have all the fun I want.
On his knees, staring at his brother, breathing hard, Abel's eyes narrow and his little fists ball up into just 2 instruments of rage.
Fine, Thaddeus. How about you show me tonight? But you ain't gonna show me again. This is the last one, you understand?
I mean, you say that now, but I think if you just give it a shot, little brother, it'll change your mind.
Abel has that moment again of just staring at his brother, thinking real hard inside. And then, with that same determination, he looks down and starts collecting a couple of the cards. That's right. Just gotta be a man. Just gotta be the man.
Oh, but you aren't a man, are you? A voice says from the shadows. Abel's head turns. The world seems fallen away. Blackness all around you, except for a hay bale lit by a candle cupped in the spindly hands of a skinny man in a black duster, black vest, black shirt, long, wide, flat-brimmed black hat pulled over his eyes, and sparkling with the yellow firelight, those white, shark-like teeth seeming to peer out at you from under the hat, piercing you in the way that no eyes could. You're just a little jackdaw.
I am not. I'm a crow.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You're a crow. But you're not a man. And he jumps up from the hay bale. The candle carefully sat on the edge of the hay bale behind him. He shoves both of his spindly hands into his pocket and cocks his head at you, eyes still covered by the black hat. You heard him. You can't do anything about it.
Pa's gone. How come you're here sniffing?
When I hear a crow a-callin', he smiles a toothy grin.
Abel looks over at Thaddeus.
Did he call you?
You did. He says that with such a certainty, Abel, that it shakes your belief in anything otherwise.
Abel glances over his shoulder towards the door, towards the house beyond it, to his mother in that house.
Hide it under a bushel. No.
Are you making deals with him?
Abel points at Thaddeus.
He shrugs with a smile. Your brother's getting mighty adventurous these days.
Abel considers this, takes a step to the side, and scoops up a couple other cards from the ground. I think the pieces that he picks up are the sort of astral remnants of the card. The physical piece stays on the ground, and just these kind of glowing, floating cards sit in his hand in a deck. And he examines them for a moment and then looks back up at this creature.
You can't stop him. Not by yourself.
I know.
He laughs under his breath, Abel still hearing. That was easy.
I've tried. Sometimes people just won't listen.
No one listens, Abel. That's why you're stuck where you are. That's why your pa's gone. Your mom will be dead soon. Nobody listens. Especially not to you. The brim of the hat pulls up over his eyes, and we cut to Abel's face.
Abel's face is a frozen rictus, unable to respond as his mind cannot reconcile what he sees. He stumbles for a moment as the heart within his chest stops with sheer terror. And then as he looks down, it resumes, and he takes a deep, shuddering breath, unable to hold eye contact.
I'm one of the good ones, Abel.
You ain't. But Daddy told me the rules.
And he scoops up another card.
If I beat you,
Scoops up another card.
you gotta do what I say.
He scoops up another card.
A soft chuckle as the hat covers his eyes again, and then it turns into a bellowing laugh that echoes in the seemingly expanded barn. His chuckle dies down as he slaps a hand on his knee. So you do.
And I think we should play.
He scoops up the last card and walks towards that hay bale with the candle.
He does the same, coming to join you. A deck forms in his left hand as he smiles a toothy grin, softly chuckling to himself. He shuffles it deftly in his hands before slamming it down on the hay bale noiselessly, offering it to you to cut.
Abel looks at it, and in a moment of boldness says,
I'm dealing. Ain't gonna have none of your cheating.
He smiles, shark-like, predatory, nods.
Abel sets the cards he's been collecting down on the ground, scoops up the demon's deck. Just before he pulls the first card off, he stops and, still unable to make eye contact.
Here's the deal. I win. You teach Thaddeus a lesson. You teach him one he ain't gonna forget. About why you don't mess with this stuff.
I'm not a very good teacher or a good student.
I don't care. You gotta do what I say if I win.
Ain't your pa taught you nothing? Gotta be clearer than that. And he can't contain the smile that comes over his face. Say it in as few words, and the smile covers his whole face, as you can. Don't get caught up in the details. The devil's in them.
I know. If I win, you show Thaddeus the evil that comes with fiddling with dark magic.
The evil in his heart.
Yeah, that.
Deal, kid. As Abel puts the cards down noiselessly on the hay bale, he says, "And what do I get if I win? Your soul ain't worth much."
If you win,
Abel looks around, taking stock of his earthly possessions.
you can ride my horse for a week.
Just a week? That's a low ball.
Abel grins, and then tries to return to his poker face.
What's your counter offer?
The smile is barely contained. He tries to cover it with the ink-black lips to no avail. His response, thick and murky through the air, only a hint of eagerness. I'd say such an important lesson is worth a year at least.
It's one night. 2 months.
He frowns. You strike a hard bargain, Crow. 4 months.
2.5. Abel is trying to conceal his grin.
He throws his hands up in the air. I've got places to be. He sighs, produces a hand, spits a glob of inky blackness on it, and extends his spindly fingers towards you.
Abel's obviously repulsed, but spits in his hand, closes his eyes, and reaches out to shake.
It's much more gentle than you imagined. When you close your eyes, it's almost like you're shaking your ma's hand. By the time you open them again, your hands have already come apart, and his are back behind his back.
Abel picks up the deck, cuts it, and deals the first card face down to each player.
You know, Pa always said you were real good at making deals.
He passes out the second card.
Not much coming from him.
Abel passes the third card.
But I will say I think you have made a mistake.
A feigned shock expression that appears real to Abel crosses his shark features.
The fourth card is dealt.
I never said anything about saddle or tack.
And with a triumphant grin on his face, he delivers the fifth card to each player.
Instead of the feigned sadness seen before, a full, broad smile crosses his face, and he draws the 5 cards close up underneath his hat.
Abel takes a deep breath to steady himself and reaches down and pulls the first card up, dragging it up against his chest before tilting his head back to peer at it, a 2 of spades. With his left hand, he reaches down to take the next one as he looks over at Thaddeus. This is one of the hardest things Abel's ever done, as he pulls up the 3 of spades. Impatience getting the better of him, he quickly pulls the next 2, a 4, and then the ace of spades. He takes a moment. He knows he's one off a straight, 1 off a flush. Some of Hiram's lessons aren't lost so quickly. He reaches down one more time, pulls up that card to see a 7 of clubs. He holds his poker face as best as he can and puts that hand down on the bale of hay.
Ace high.
You sure you don't want to change the deal? He says, mouth hidden behind cards.
Abel, deflating by the moment, he knows he's lost.
Yeah, deal's a deal.
Deal's a deal. A smile cut to the cards of the Manitou across from you. King of diamonds, King of clubs, King of spades, King of hearts. You can barely see the last card adjacent to those. The 4 shining instruments of Abel's doom. He strikes a regal pose, deflates, smile turned to grimace, and the cards carelessly thrown down like trash on the hay bale as the word comes out of his mouth. Fold.
Abel's face is a lightning transition of impending disappointment to shocked joy. He knows he shouldn't have won. This is not a good hand, but this is proof that he's doing the right thing.
He stands up, almost elated. Ha! I win.
A grin flashes across his face, violent, deadly, and full of poison. To the victors.
Thaddeus slowly rises to his feet, knocking off some of the stray hay and dirt from his long johns. Rustles some of it out of his hair before he turns back.
Abel, if you ain't just the grumpiest stick in the mud that I ever had the unpleasant fortune to share blood with, this is all I meant to show you.
And he grabs a hold of the old hand that he had, and his form begins to shimmer and dissolve out of view before all at once it snaps back with a bit of an aura to it, reminiscent of all that black, thick smoke. And then a voice we hadn't heard from the young Thaddeus before calls back to his brother.
Class is in session.
Thaddeus charges towards Abel with a blank, maddened stare in his eyes. He grabs Abel by the scruff of his collar and pulls him to the hay bale, grabs a hold of the candle, and slams it against his little brother's head. The barn goes dark, and we hear the rustling of feet, a loud thud against one of the support beams nearby, and a louder thud as the 2 fall to the ground. And we just hear the soft thud repeatedly.
Abel's hand slips from Thaddeus's fingers, the cards flinging through the air, slowly pittering to the ground in this deathly stillness. The almost straight, almost flush hand of a loser fluttering out of your hands as you're brought back to the almost now.
Thaddeus is sort of quiet for a moment and probably shaking at this point. I think we're kind of looking at the cards fall and his open hand, and we're looking over his shoulder, so we can't quite see his face yet. He lifts his head to address the woman.
What the fuck have you just shown me? You tricking me?
That was you looking, wasn't it? I didn't show you anything that wasn't there. Just gave you the means to look through.
Are you telling me that's what happened? What really happened?
Sure and certain.
20 years.
20 years. There's no accounting for the stupidity of crows.
You shut your goddamn mouth.
With pleasure.
She smiles underneath the veil, and like that, the lightning brought back to stark reality. Only a hair of a moment passed.
All right. How far is Abel from me? 15 feet?
15 feet.
What's the geometry of this path in front of me? Is it a straight line?
Straight line, yep.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cast telekinesis on Abel's body
Okay,
and pull it towards me.
great. So all of you kind of are just confused as Abel's body slides, pinwheeling along the ground towards Thaddeus, just leaving a trail of blood behind him.
Yeah, in that moment of confusion, the camera sort of switches back as it follows the body, and we see Thaddeus standing there with his left hand outstretched. He's got that cursed ace in his hands and some hate in his eyes. Abel sort of lifts off of the ground, and Thaddeus takes a couple of big strides and lays him out with a pretty big haymaker, and then grabs him by the shoulders and picks him up.
Wake up, you son of a bitch!
I think at this point, we're all moving over there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely
okay,
rushing
great.
the
Yeah, come on.
shit out of you.
Abel, you got answers. Wake up!
Thank you for listening to Sounds Like Crows. I'm Caleb Sunstead, and you can find me on Twitter at MarshallCaleb. Thaddeus Crow is played by Marshall Sims at Mr. Malicious1 on Twitter. You can find him, me, Cameron Reed, and Alex on our other podcast, Omen's Call. Abel Crow was played by Isaac Sunstead at Abel the Crow on Twitter. Ellis Crow is played by Alex Horrell, who you can find on Twitter at Alex Horrell. Luciano Lucky Crow was played by Cameron Day, who you can find on our patron Discord server,
Thaddeus?
The Crow's
All right, I
Nest.
think I'm gonna jump in
Harper
between this
Daisy
and try and
Crow was
separate
played by
Thaddeus,
Cameron
right?
Reed,
And
how
I'm
do you on
hoping I'm
Twitter
getting some
at
help.
How do you guys feel if I deal
211?
initiative? You can
Yeah,
follow
go
the
for it.
show on Twitter at Sounds of Crows, or find our contact information at soundslikecrows.com. And please tweet at us at Sounds of Crows with the hashtag LuckyPlease. Hashtag LuckyPlease. See you next Monday.